Today we're talking kids' picture days. How should you prepare? Listen to find out.
Hello and welcome to Couple Chat.
Where we
Parents.
discuss topics for you.
Parents. I'm Matt.
I'm Jackie. Let's chat.
So pictures
Yeah.
for children.
Yeah. So picture days have happened a few times for us now that we have had them in daycare for over a year and now that Nate's in preschool. And I think that it's something that as new parents, I didn't even know was a thing. I don't know about you, but at least before you had one of your jobs recently, I never even realized that it was offered. I thought it was just like our parents took us to like JCPenney when we were little and took pictures. I didn't even realize that back in those days they did that too. So it's been quite interesting of a difference in how they do things when it comes to pictures. Every school does a different program. Every school does a different photographer. So you have the experience in yearbook pictures. So how is that something that it seems to be, it's been around forever. So
You're saying for what, that age?
for that age. I've never even heard of like baby photos until you started doing them.
Yeah, I mean, I think it all depends on the school, the district. There's a lot of reasons. You know, with our daycare, it's privately owned, so they can kind of do whatever they want. The daycare that I did it for was in Queens, New York, and I mean, I think it was part of a school. Like, I didn't know all the details, but regardless, I mean, it really all depends, you know. And with our son, obviously, he's in pre-K. He's in an actual school, though. So for him to be getting the option to do pictures makes sense. So I think it's just a matter of where you are, you know, as a parent. You should just either verify and make sure if you want that kind of thing, if your school does it. Realistically, they're going to send out a flyer anyway, and they're going to tell you when picture day is. They love to make sure. There's a lot of physical marketing behind pictures.
Oh, yeah.
And that's because that's the way that, you know, the word gets out about it. I mean, I'm sure there's emails and stuff too, but schools are very paper-oriented still. And
Emma's school did something weird this year. So they used to use one place that I really liked, that they actually had like good photographers and good setups and
they
things.
used LifeTouch.
Yeah, they used LifeTouch.
So LifeTouch is probably the biggest in the United States. You know, I don't know how pictures are done in other countries, but LifeTouch is probably one of the biggest in the United States that takes school photos. They were bought out by Shutterfly, so there's a whole thing. It's almost a monopoly, you know. It's like, hey, here's your photos, but we could turn it into a photo book, we could turn it into a canvas, blah 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 blah. Like, that was the whole point. Like, Shutterfly wanted to do that so that like they have you in their ecosystem, basically.
Right.
But anyway, LifeTouch is pretty much like the corporate school photo company. There are some smaller ones out there. I worked for a smaller company in Staten Island for about a year. And, you know, I mean, roughly, those companies are all going to do things slightly differently because they don't have a corporation behind them. You know, most of them are probably mom and pop photo shops that built up in some way, shape, or form. That's how mine was. It was my friend's dad actually built the company himself. And originally it was like he did videos. Right. And then he moved into photos because that was what schools needed and wanted. And video was like secondary. Right. But ultimately, like, clients are clients. It's just like any other photo video service. Right. So like if you want to, you know, bring it down to a more general term, I work in video production. Sometimes I do photos as well, but I have a service and these companies have services that they offer. And if a school comes along and they want them to do it, or a daycare comes along or somebody, like, as long as it's within their services that they offer, I mean, yeah, they can do it. But ultimately, it's really like it comes down to the district, the school, if it's private, it's up to, whoever runs the facility. Anybody can really have pictures done.
Yeah.
By these companies.
Well, it's funny because they had Life Touch last year for both times. So this is another thing that I think is strange.
Yeah.
Why do they need fall photos and spring photos?
Yeah.
Is that just a money grab? Like I can't fathom my mom. Like my mom never bought the pictures to begin with.
Right.
But for her to have to buy them twice for 5 kids.
Enough people are doing
year?
this though. See, that's the thing. It's like if the market wants it, it's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing. It's like obviously people want this stuff. So it may not seem normal to you because you're on the other side of it where, oh, well, I've never gotten the photos like when I was a kid. I mean, it was like that with us too. Like my mom never really got the photos. Every once in a while she would.
No, my mom, she had all 5 of our frames set up on display on the wall in the living room, and each frame had our school picture in it. And then the later and later it got in the years, she would change the first picture to the current year. And then as we got much, much older into high school and she didn't like those pictures and refused to purchase those pictures, it was like you were living in this twilight zone of Jackie stuck in freshman year of high school, Kevin stuck in junior year of high school. And like we were all stuck in these different levels and different ages because she refused to buy those pictures. So it's just funny to me that now it's this two times a year. Like maybe it may have started when we were kids. I don't even remember how many school picture days we had.
I don't think so.
But like Haley's been doing 2 a year, or my cousin's been doing 2 a year since she was in school. Huh? This has just been a regular thing.
But I mean, you got to think we were out of school by the time, see, that's a funny thing. So we were out of school by 2007 and 2008.
Right.
But like college, I don't recall that ever being offered.
Oh yeah. There were pictures.
Yeah.
But you got like a website. You got like a flash drive with like the website on it and your pictures. Or you got like a link sent to your school email. That was part of a thing. But like you had to like send the link off and do the little code and like all that. But it was only once a year. That's what I mean. Like it's very confusing to me like how nowadays it's a thing like that. Yeah. But again, like you said, Life Touch seems to be the ones that really go ham on the whole do it twice a year and blah, blah, blah.
This is another thing that I know you're going to touch on anyway. However, Life Touch, whether you go to that school or this school, or you have a kid in daycare or another school, whatever the case is, and let's say they all use Life Touch, depending on the school and their budgets and the vouchers, all these different things, and if it's a privately owned place, you might find different pricing, even for the same packages, or completely different packages, but it's the same company.
Right.
We ran into this issue. Well, not an issue, actually. It turned out in our favor, but our son's pre-K, his pictures, they're Life Touch, but man, are they reasonable.
Oh, yeah.
Like more than I've ever seen for school photos.
Yeah. Like $7 for the same package that I got at the daycare that I spent $70 on. Like it is insane, the price cut. Yeah. And it's helpful, especially if they're going to, offer it twice a year. But
and there's a few different factors. So like I said, being that this is an actual school, this is actually in the education sector, as opposed to the daycare, which is private, there's completely different pricing there.
Oh, yeah. And it's a district-run program.
Right.
Because our district offers this specific program for these specific kids. Because Nate got in the lottery, as we mentioned in the previous episode. So, like, this may be part of that budget, too. Like, maybe their budget allots for, this is the budget for picture day. And then it can give, like, the students low pricing. I'm not really sure.
Well, there's also another factor, and that's quantity.
True.
So Daycare, smaller facility, less kids. School, way more kids.
Oh, way more. And way more kids that are going to be doing it.
Exactly. So that plays into, just like anything, if you buy in bulk, you get a bigger discount on it. So it's just this, it's the same as pictures. The school is technically buying on bulk, so they get a bigger deal on the photos in the end.
Makes sense. So the thing I like most about what the daycare offered us was Life Touch does this really cool thing. I have them on me, actually. It's called Smile Safe. It's part of their Life Touch safety program. So what's really cool is they will take your child's photos and put it on this little ID card. And this is the most recent photo of your child. So God forbid they go missing, or if the police need a picture of them to identify them for whatever reason, this photo can be used as like the missing persons poster, or even just like identifying that you're the parent. So I thought that was something really cool that Life Touch has, like that additional perk with their programs. Unfortunately, we weren't able to do Emma's pictures just because they did change photographers, and I felt like it was a little weird because they asked for cash only, and the pricing was actually quite high for a company I'd never heard of.
Right.
And there wasn't any like explanation on why the daycare changed. For us who have been there a while now, I felt like we were due that. So I feel like we were kind of missing on that information of it.
Not only that, but in the service industry, back in our day when we were kids in the 90s, fine. Cash was king then,
Check even.
Right. Like, not a huge deal. Oh, yeah, put an envelope full of cash and send it with my kid. Parents did that all the time. My mom did that too. Like, we went on a school trip, whatever.
Yeah.
Picture day, of course, send the cash. But in this day and age, I don't trust just putting cash in my kid's backpack. I don't trust just giving cash to some random people that I don't necessarily know.
Yeah.
I'm not saying the daycare is gonna do anything or they're gonna have an issue with it. Again, you didn't know this photo company or whatever the case was. You guys are gonna hear me say this a ton. Whether this happens before or after the pumpkin picking episode, I mentioned this in that as well. But we're millennials, and anyone younger than us doesn't even know what a dollar bill really looks like.
No.
And it's scary. It's a scary thought, sure, but at the same time, it's safer. People are always like, oh, well, cash is safest, but it's not, because it could be easily stolen. Yes, somebody could hack your credit card or your accounts or whatever, but that's backed by the bank. So like you have security there.
Right.
Cash doesn't have security. You drop cash, somebody picks it up, you lost that cash. That money's gone.
Right.
So in this instance, I totally agree with you. Like I wouldn't have wanted to just be like, all right, yeah, here's $40, here's $50. Yeah.
The thing was, the photographers were there when I got there in the morning with our daughter. So they could have taken her photo right then and there. But one, I forgot. Two, I didn't know the company. And it's one thing, like, every business deserves to try. But, like, at least give us some sort of proof of what you do or whatever. Like, they gave out this flyer that looked like it had stock photos on it. It wasn't very appealing. The pricing wasn't right. And I just felt I felt very weird about it. And they were sitting in there and I looked at their setup because I was like, all right, maybe I'll consider it. Because at that point they're like, oh no, we'll take Cash App. That's okay. Because Cash App is legitimate. And
that's weird.
Like the staff at the daycare was telling us that. And then I looked in at the setup and it was just like a backdrop. There were no props like Life Touch does. There was no I don't know. I feel like it was just a totally different experience for this that I just didn't. to pay that kind of money,
Right.
to have a company come in and take their pictures when I could have Han Films do it right here in my studio.
Oh my goodness.
You know how many times Matt has said to me, I could just take them at home. Yeah. When have you done that?
Don't do that. I do.
I know you do a lot. I'm not saying you don't.
Emma's 1 year photos were taken down here.
Yeah, they were. And she's how old now? No, I'm just saying, like, you know, to allow someone else to do the photos, because sometimes the kid will act different for, obviously, they're going to act different for that stranger than for us.
Yeah.
They may be able to get a good, sweet moment like I have on these cards.
Yeah, of course.
Or they may have, you know, terrible luck and no smiles at all. But I don't know. A picture day is really cool. I don't understand why it has to be so many times in the year.
I mean, but do you know if the pre-K is doing it again in the spring? Oh.
It's just our town schools. They all do that twice a year.
You know, though, when they're this young, it's probably worth it. See, that's the thing.
Right.
When they're this young, like Nate is almost 4. You know, by the time spring rolls around, he's going to be 4. He's probably going to have grown a few more inches. He's going to have more of a gaunt face. Like, he's going to look
He's going to have a beard. That's what I thought he was going to say.
He's going to
touched his face.
More of a gaunt face. No. I mean, he's just, you know, he's going to have more of an attitude.
Great.
Yeah.
No, you're right, though. I understand it for this age, then, I guess. Yeah.
As they get older, you know, like your cousin. It's unnecessary.
I don't need the picture before braces and after braces. I don't need the picture of before puberty and after puberty. Oh, I hope not. But
what was that? Scout's honor?
I hope not. I did it. Yeah. So I just think picture day is a great opportunity to, like, you know, be able to kind of make them royalty for the day too. Cause like you make them look nice and you give them a nice little outfit. He's not really shy in front of cameras, but I know certain kids, I mean, even Emma, she had trouble too. She just looks at it like, what are you doing to me? Like,
well, that's the thing. Like, it goes either way. You know, you have the kids that are like, yeah, sure, gung ho, good to go. Yeah. And the other side where it's like, okay. And coming from the other side of things, being the photographer, it's really hard sometimes, you know, especially you are a stranger coming into a school dealing with children.
Yeah.
You have to be very careful what you say, how you touch. There are so many things.
Yeah.
And again, I worked for a small company. There were things that they, you know, they gave us some pointers on, but like, there's no like HR in place or anything like that. I'm assuming Life Touch especially has so many regulations in place and they have a lot of training behind it. They have an HR because that's the thing. You're dealing with a school. That's another factor. Like, we don't know who that company was.
Right.
I don't know what. I'm all for small business. I am a small business owner. However, if you are not doing the right things for your clients, we live in a day and age where you need so many things in place.
Yeah.
And if you're going to be working with clients, you have to have their safety in mind as well. So if you're working with children and you're a photo business, you need to have certain regulations and certain things in place. And I mean, if those things aren't easily accessible on your website, how are we supposed to trust you? You know?
Right.
And I don't care if you're a small business these days, you need to have a website and you need to have a social presence.
Yeah.
Especially a photo business.
Right.
Like, you have to be able to show your work. And yeah, photos of children, different story. But there are certain situations, parents sign off on release forms and things like that so that, hey, we'll give you like free photos or something if your kid can be part of our website
portfolio.
Photos or something. Yeah, our portfolio.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so I understand your weariness. It all depends on the small business, you know, and what they have to offer.
Sure. But I'm really excited, and who knows if we'll get Emma's pictures done anytime soon.
Yeah.
I was just saying, like, I thought this was a really, good subject to talk about because like some parents kind of just like throw the paper away and don't even consider it. And then other parents don't even realize that it's offered until it's too late.
Yeah.
And I just think for us, it's really nice to have those pictures, especially, hey, folks, guess what? For those of you family members listening, you'll know this already, but they're a great gift. We have gifted our children's pictures to their grandparents, one time to their aunt, just because we could. We were like, hey, what would be a good idea as a gift? Oh, our kids' grandparents love them so much. Let's print them some pictures.
Especially like the older you get as parents and grandparents and aunts, uncles, like the older you get, it comes to a point where it's like, what do you get, people? And when you have kids, everything else starts to, become like, do I need to spend money on that? Right. It's expensive. And the holidays come and it's like, whoa, I have to get all these people presents. And it's like, and I have to get my kids, the entirety of a toy store online because Toys R Us doesn't exist anymore.
Yes, it does. Online.
Right. Right. There you go. Nobody's going to that. Nobody's going to that. But, so this is a cherished gift. You can get nice frames, maybe make a nice book or something. So, and see, look, Shutterfly's in our brain.
Yeah.
This is exactly their point. They want you to make this stuff. However, and maybe they're better now, but we did use Shutterfly for our wedding. So I had a friend of mine take our pictures for our wedding. Funny enough, this friend is the son of the owner of that photo business that I worked at. But he took our photos.
Right.
And I printed all that stuff and set all that stuff up with Shutterfly.
Yeah.
However, back then, the books that we made, the covers warped really quickly and easily. And I don't know if Shutterfly is still like that because we haven't really ordered anything like that and in a long time. But yeah, I mean, hopefully their quality's better. But being a huge brand and well known, you would think their products would be a little more quality than that. I use Vistaprint and all their stuff is quality.
Yeah.
Never have had any issues.
Yeah. I mean, this was 2017, so who knows what the quality of the stuff was that they printed it on, and who knows too on like where we've put it over the years and where we've moved to. And
yeah, I guess.
I mean, climate is just as much a factor as the quality of the product itself.
Right.
So, I mean, I still loved it.
Oh, I know. And obviously we have them and they've held up. And actually, right now, I kind of want to look at that.
Well, what's funny is Nate likes to look at them. Nate likes to look through them and like point at pictures of people that he knows. Yeah. So that's been something that's really helpful. But yeah, I don't know. I like looking down memory lane, but also, it kind of reminds Nate of certain people. Like he recognizes certain people and then he doesn't others. And I'm just like, them. They may not look the same now as they did then, but you know them. And it's just like really cool to kind of travel down memory lane.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pictures, they're precious.
Yes.
But are they worth the price? That's up to you,
especially
parents.
Of your children that we take hundreds of on these things anyway.
That's my thing. Y'all, we have cell phones. Like, do we really need? I mean, do we?
So it depends. And again, coming from somebody who does, photo and video for a living, there's a push and pull back and forth with this whole thing. Phones are getting extremely good when it comes to camera quality. Mm-hmm. I opt to take pictures on my phone and video on my phone more than any other time in my life. If I'm going to go somewhere, I would rather have my phone on me and some small accessories with that than get a whole big camera setup. And clients even are opting more for phone content because of social media and the day and age we live in. There are easy ways to shoot and edit and publish right on your phone. So you're talking pictures professionally done with your kids. The quality of phone pictures compared to those professional photos, they're still not going to be the same. It's, there are certain things, depth of field, ISO, sensor size. Sensor size is really the big thing. Obviously, you're not going to fit huge sensors into a phone. Cameras, on the other hand, I shoot with a full frame camera. Most full frame cameras are getting very tiny. We're shooting with an A7 IV right now, and this thing's very tiny. Sony has since come out with even smaller full frame cameras than this. So it's coming. I wouldn't be surprised if in the next 5 years, somebody at least puts a super 35 sized sensor in a phone, and then full frame will eventually come. But sensors matter most. So phones can't do that yet. They use software to do it.
Right. So
the software built into phone camera apps like portrait mode, and iPhone has cinematic mode, they create a fake depth of field. Basically, it takes a layer of photos and it uses an algorithm to figure out the subject and then blur out the background, and you can play with how much depth of field you want, whether it's like really, really blurred out or just slightly. But ultimately, it's all fake.
Right.
They're doing it in post-production, basically, which you can do anyway with different software and stuff like that. But that's what phones do right now. So yes, it works, and it's getting a heck of a lot better. Like I use portrait mode. I use portrait mode often, especially if you're taking pictures in really good lighting and you're outside or, in a place that has a lot of really nice natural light, your pictures would probably turn out really great. But then it's pixel count. So my phone, I have the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 5. It has this new feature where you can shoot 50 megapixel photos.
Wow.
That's pretty high. That's higher actually than this camera can shoot photos at. That's great because you can blow that picture up and it will still look really good on a large screen, or if you want to make a canvas or something out of it. But it's a feature that you have to turn on, so look out for it on your phones. So if you want to take professional photos and you don't want to go somewhere and get photos taken, you want to do it quick on your phone, see if you have that kind of feature. I know the new iPhone has similar features to that too. I don't know all the details, but these things are like... We're really there. Yeah, it's crazy. So but
there's also shutter speed too, because you have to think like on your phone, the shutter speed is as quick as your thumb can go to take those pictures, those action shots.
Sony again is the only one that's really doing something with that.
Right.
They have a physical shutter button on their phones.
See, that's cool.
Yeah, and they're doing really cool stuff with phones and cameras, and they're kind of like trying to bridge that gap. But
like for someone like Emma, who's all over the place and probably hard to get a good picture of, you need that quick shutter speed.
They have burst mode, so you can like hold down the software shutter button.
True.
And like you hold it down and it will take a bunch of pictures. Again, still not as good, and it doesn't have that same feel as a physical button. But yeah, they're bridging that gap.
Yeah.
It will happen. We are talking about this right now, but sometime near in the next few years, we're going to be talking about this again and be like, well, so I took my son's professionally shot photos on my phone here in my hand. And it's like, there are still things that professionals do that the normal consumer does not. Composition's one thing, posture and the exact positioning of subjects for photos, especially posed photos, portraits, like kids or, for school pictures, these are things that need to be done a specific way to get the right look. If you're just taking a candid photo, whatever, but composition's still a factor. Right. Whatever. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait to see what our little boy looks like.
Yes.
Dude, I can't believe he's almost 4.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
So that's picture day and kind of giving you the details on how it works behind the scenes and also how to kind of prepare yourself for what's to come.
Yep. Well, I'm Matt.
I'm Jackie. Here are the Hahns signing out. Thank you so much for listening to Couple Chat. Make sure to subscribe to us on Spotify or YouTube Music and check out our YouTube page to see this episode in video. Thank you to Hahn Films for editing and producing this episode. Talk to you soon.